Qinfeng didn't know either who those top Daxia players were who had died in the hands of the Nightmare Hellflower in his previous life. Late Night Drizzle definitely wasn't among them. But as for this official surnamed Sun, there was a high probability that he was one of them. It was really unexpected that this guy was so obsequious. It was like he was being sold out, but still helping to count the money for others. To put it more realistically, it was as if a pig was helping its owner sharpen the knife to kill itself. His name is Sun Xing, and he's the advisor for this operation. Late Night Drizzle also maintained her invisible state and jumped down from Asirio's back. Her single ponytail was ruffled by the gentle breeze, but she stood straight with a heroic and valiant temperament. She frowned slightly and looked at the official surnamed Sun. Of course, Operation Advisor is just a nicer way of putting it. Actually, Sun Xing is only responsible for contacting Theodore and them. We don't need to pay attention to him. I'll be in charge of the specific combat work, of course. When we arrive at the scene, it'll be up to you, great god, to command. We'll all listen to you. Sun Xing. He really deserved to be punished. Qinfeng naturally wouldn't care about such a person. Immediately after that, he put away Osirio and appeared with Late Night Drizzle. Player Wu Chang has joined the team. Bye. Player My Life Has Been Like Walking on Thin Ice has joined the team. Player Show Your True Ape Form Quickly has joined the team. Bye. Late Night Drizzle, as the team leader, directly invited all 58 people to join the team. What made Qinfeng a bit speechless was that the official surnamed Sun's game ID was Contemporary Talent. Was it the talent in the saying, those who can recognize the trend of events are wise? This guy was holding a silver level priest's scepter. When Qinfeng arrived, he just lowered his head and didn't dare to say a word. It seemed that he was also deeply impressed by Shadows not being easy to deal with and didn't dare to say any nonsense. Qinfeng naturally didn't bother to pay attention to him either. It could be seen that the other players in the team all admired Qinfeng very much. No one took the words of Sun Xing just now seriously at all. They all regarded him as a joke. What era was it now? Still being so obsequious to others? Wasn't it embarrassing? Everyone, listen to my commands for actions later. Late Night Drizzle held a platinum level crossbow arrow and calmly walked to the front of the team, looking around. Of course, if Shadow has other instructions that conflict with my commands, give priority to following Shadows. Now, let's move out. Except for Sun Xing, all the people in the team were the most elite players of the Modu official. They were well trained and their cooperation in the game was also extremely good. Even when they saw Qinfeng, they didn't show any panic or nervousness at all, because half of them were selected from the military and had extremely high qualities. However, when Late Night Drizzle gave the order, everyone took out their mount bells and summoned their respective mounts in the godforsaken game. The drop rate of mounts wasn't high, but the official had wide channels and could manage to equip each top player with a mount bell. With mounts, it would be more convenient to kill monsters and travel, even if the speed was only 1 or 200 meters per second. It was much faster than the running speed of players in the early stage. Various mounts such as wild wolves, lions, big snakes, stone men, and so on appeared on the scene. 2. Everyone mounted their mounts. Only Sun Xing was a bit embarrassed because his combat power wasn't strong and the official hadn't specially equipped him with a mount. Late Night Drizzle had been prepared and threw a mount bell to him. Ride it first and return it when we arrive at the place. Late Night Drizzle said coldly, Okay. Sun Xing, who wore glasses, smiled and took the mount bell. Jingle bell. When he shook the bell, a black-haired wild boar immediately appeared in front of him. Sun Xing's smile froze on his face. A wild boar? What's my status? You want me to ride a wild boar? More than 20 minutes later, this team arrived in a grand manner at the foot of the volcano, more than 300 kilometers away from the ruins of Modu City. Soon, they met with Theodore and others. Qinfeng was riding a ghost night wolf and didn't maintain his invisibility, but moved with the team, although he was keeping a low profile. When they arrived at the destination, Theodore and others saw him at a glance. Suddenly, 5 foreign players came in front of Qinfeng. Respected Mr. Shadow, although you've killed us once. There's an old saying in the East that out of blows friendship grows. Theodore was very enthusiastic, with a smile on his face. No matter what your impression of us is, please believe that we don't have any malice towards you at all. Hearing this, before Qinfeng could say anything, Sun Xing, who was riding a wild boar beside them, jumped out. Mr. Theodore is too polite. You can disregard past grudges and give us the coordinates of the diamond level boss. Of course, we believe in your sincerity. However, before he could finish speaking, Late Night Drizzle jumped down from the back of a leopard and came to Sun Xing. We've arrived at the place. The mount bell. What's the rush? Are you afraid that I won't return it? Sun Xing frowned and reluctantly jumped down from the wild boar, although the black wild boar looked a bit stupid. After riding it, he found that having a mount was really nice, even if it was a wild boar. 1. It was better than having nothing. Qinfeng didn't want to waste time and stepped forward, looking at Theodore with a fake smile. It's okay. Let's go. Let's go in and fight the boss together. Qinfeng noticed that there were only 5 people on Theodore's side, and the one who should be Iron Fist wasn't present. Qinfeng, of course, knew what the other party was planning. Wasn't it to trap them inside the volcano? However, Qinfeng didn't care, because he had already made proper arrangements with Late Night Drizzle. Before entering, Late Night Drizzle looked solemn, and once again confirmed in the team channel. After entering, All actions should follow my commands. Don't act rashly. Those who disobey will be regarded as traitors. Everyone, including Sun Xing, confirmed it one by one. Sun Xing was still a bit dismissive and muttered to himself, "Traitor. It's not that serious." Soon, everyone entered through the only passage and walked towards the inside of the volcano along the fiery red rock road. You have entered the deep inside the Purgatory Volcano. This area is a nightmare area. The lifespan lost speed in the area 10,000 times. Hearing this system prompt, everyone's faces became solemn. After turning several corners, everyone felt that the temperature in front was getting higher and higher. And finally they came to an empty underground space. Around them were mountain walls that were dyed red by the magma. And in the middle of the deep pit at the bottom was an interlaced magma river. In the center of the magma river was a fire-red nightmare hellflower with a diameter of more than 60 meters. More than 60 people came to a stone platform. The length and width of this platform were both about 30 meters. And it was more than 30 meters high from the magma river at the bottom of the deep pit and the boss. People looked down at the diamond level boss in the pit in front of them, and their eyes were all very shocked. At present, the boss was resting and didn't seem to notice the players who had entered here. Just at this moment, Theodore received a private message from Iron Fist. "Amos, boss, it's done. I've built 9 stone walls one after another. I'm sure I can trap them all inside." "Okay, let's go." Theodore's lips curled up slightly, looking at the 60 strong men from Daxia in the field. He was just about to give the order and let the black guy Zuma release the ability of Soul Walker so that they could cross the mountain wall and leave. However, suddenly, puff! A pitch black demon hunter arrow was suddenly shot out from Late Night Drizzle's hand and accurately hit Zuma's back. 467. Zuma was stunned. Theodore and others were also stunned. And all the Daxia players around were also a bit surprised. What was going on? Zuma subconsciously raised his hand to release his profession skill and enter the soul state. However, you are in a silenced state and cannot release any skills. Mareta. The arrow shot by Late Night Drizzle directly had a silence effect. It made Zuma unable to release any skills within 8 seconds. Zuma's face darkened. Before he could react, Late Night Drizzle raised her hand and fired a triple repelling arrow. The triple Demon Hunter arrows accurately landed on Zuma, knocking him back towards the lava deep pit where the boss was. The whole person was pushed out of the stone platform and fell downwards. This sudden change shocked everyone in the field except Qinfeng and Late Night Drizzle. What was going on? Before they even started fighting the boss, Late Night Drizzle took action. She directly silenced and repelled the Soul Walker Zuma, pushing him towards the boss. What's going on? What's going on? Seeing this, Sun Xing was immediately shocked. Why are you attacking our own people? Oh my. This will lead to serious international disputes. As he spoke, he raised his hand. He released a levitation spell, directly blocking Zuma's falling figure and making him float back onto the platform. Sun Xing. Late Night Drizzle was furious when she saw this. Remove the silence from him quickly. Zuma. The black guy was very panicked and immediately shouted. Hearing the other's English accent, Sun Xing didn't think twice and threw out a purification spell. A beam of light blue light descended from the sky, covering Zuma and purifying and removing the silence estate on him. Alright, Soul Walker, come on. After having the silence removed, Zuma immediately raised his hand and released a grayish-white light. The light spread out, covering him, Theodore, and the other 4 people. Bang! Before the golden-haired, short-haired girl Fury was transformed into the soul state. She raised the musket in her hand and released an ultra-long-range sniping skill from a distance. A bullet accurately landed on the diamond-level boss below, the Nightmare Hellflower. Boom! The diamond-level boss was directly awakened by her. Immediately after that, Theodore, Fury, Zuma, and the other 5 people were all transformed into the soul state. In the blink of an eye, when the boss was activated, waves of terrifying nightmare energy spread throughout the entire interior space of the volcano. The more than 60 people in the field all started to accumulate the nightmare meter above their heads. This nightmare meter is really abnormal, even in the soul form. You can't be immune to this effect. Of course, after all, this is a superior affix. These Daxia pigs must have never encountered this before. Let them enjoy the nightmare. Death in the nightmare will be your end. Theodore and the others in the soul state all breathed a sigh of relief and then laughed. While laughing, they penetrated through the mountain wall behind them. In the soul state, they had no physical form, were immune to any damage, and could pass through obstacles. Even Qinfeng couldn't stop this when he saw it. Or rather, he didn't bother to stop it. Although the Shadow Blade can dispel the target's buff state, the prerequisite is that it must hit in the soul state. It's equivalent to not existing in this world. No skills can hit them. Qinfeng narrowed his eyes. Although there was a bit of an accident, he wasn't in a hurry because he still had a follow-up plan. So he watched them flee without paying any attention. Could they escape in reality even if they could run away in the game? Late Night Drizzle didn't know Qinfeng's follow-up plan. Watching the other party escape right in front of her eyes, she was instantly angry. I told you not to act rashly and to follow my commands. Are you deaf? Player contemporary talent has been removed from the team. Sun Xing was completely dumbfounded when he saw Zuma and the others running away and then found himself kicked out of the team. However, he didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. After being kicked out of the team, he still shouted publicly in the nearby channel, "Lin King-yu, do you know what you're doing? They kindly told us the coordinates of the boss, and you still launched a sneak attack on them. Have you no shame? As a fellow Daxia citizen, I'm ashamed of you." Late Night Drizzle sneered. Didn't you hear what they said? They were trying to lead us into a trap. They planned to turn into the Soul State and escape. You're helping foreigners and still have the nerve to talk back. Sun Xing argued back and also sneered. Wasn't it you who took the first action? If you hadn't done that, how would they have left? If I were them, I'd also be extremely disappointed in Daxia. Unfortunately, no one in the field bothered to pay attention to this guy at all, because the boss had already been alerted. An uncomfortable black energy spread throughout the entire space, covering everyone. As the nightmare meter started to accumulate, everyone began to hear some faint, terrifying sounds in their ears, and there were also some indescribably terrifying light and shadows flickering in front of their eyes. Of course, since the meter had just started accumulating, the symptoms weren't very serious yet. But if it continued like this, Late Night Drizzle looked solemn and raised her hand to cast a Demon Hunter mark at the boss in the deep pit. She said coldly, Sun Xing didn't follow the commands and help the foreign war criminals escape. He's regarded as a traitor. Everyone, cooperate with Shadow and kill the boss. Really a traitor. Sun Xing had a nonchalant look on his face, shrugged his shoulders, and said disdainfully, Women are just unreasonable. It's just a boss? Even if we die here, how much of a loss could it be? Would they really go to such lengths to trap us here and kill us? Late Night Drizzle snorted coldly. I didn't mention it in advance, just to prevent people like you who betray their own side. This diamond level boss has the Nightmare Superior Affix attached. Once the meter reaches 100%, we'll be trapped in a nightmare for several days. During this period, we can't be revived in the game and we'll have all our tradable lifespan sucked away by the boss. Calculate it yourself. If we're trapped in this area with a 10,000-fold lifespan flow rate for several days, will your lifespan be enough? Upon hearing this, most of the people in the field looked solemn, and some were a bit panicked. Even Sun Xing subconsciously took a look at his non-tradable lifespan and then quickly swallowed. It's so outrageous, then we should run away quickly, without any hesitation. He turned around and ran. Seeing that quite a few people were also planning to follow and run, Late Night Drizzle reminded them, Don't run. I just left a hidden Demon Hunter's Eye in the passage. It can be seen that the passage we came through has been blocked by Theodore's people with walls. Our only way out now is to cooperate with Shadow and kill the boss. In fact, when Late Night Drizzle first heard Qin Feng's words, she was a bit skeptical at first. Was Theodore really going to be hostile to them? But when she saw that the passage was blocked by walls, she truly believed Qin Feng. That's why she had just directly attacked the Soul Walker. And upon hearing Late Night Drizzle's words, many people broke out in a cold sweat. So, Theodore was so despicable. He deliberately led them into a trap and wanted to kill them. Originally, Late Night Drizzle seemed to know their plan and wanted to control the Soul Walker to restrain the other party. But all of this was messed up by Sun Xing. Damn Sun Xing. If I don't die today, your mother will surely die. Oh my god. The nightmare meter is increasing too fast. It's already 10%. Damn it. This is a diamond level boss. How could it be killed in such a short time? Fuck! If I die on the battlefield, I'll have no regrets. But being tricked by our own people like this, I won't accept it even if I die. Stop fucking complaining. Hurry up and help Big Shot Shadow attack the boss. Yeah. Let's calm down. Everyone. Calm down. We have Big Shot Shadow with us, even with Shadow. Why has the boss's health already dropped by 1/3 in this life and death, tense and exciting situation? When everyone looked at the Nightmare Hellflower in the deep pit again, they were all dumbfounded. Damn it. In just the time it took to say a few words, the boss's health had already dropped to 2/3. Shadow. What kind of devilish output was this? While everyone was shocked by the sudden change in the situation, Qin Feng didn't pay any attention to Sun Xing at all and directly jumped off the platform. He would have countless ways to deal with Sun Xing later. But for now, the most important thing was to kill the boss. This diamond level boss has a total health of 36 million. Its weak points are the fire red eyes on each petal. Well, forget it. Virtually every part of it is a weak point. Its mechanism is divided into 3 phases. Each phase has a health of up to 12 million. Moreover, the damage reduction attribute of the diamond level boss was even higher than that of the emerald level boss, averaging between 70% 80%. Alright, only a boss that's tough enough like this is worthy of allowing me to unleash all my strength. Qin Feng hid in the darkness, facing the huge fire red flower. He leaped high into the air. Shadow of Slaughter. Mercy Kill. Instant Shadow Slash. 48. Then weak point attack. 49. Then weak point attack. 48. Then weak point attack. In an instant, 36 damage numbers popped up from the big red flower. The total damage added up to around 75 million. 1 second later, the throat cutting effect was triggered. 185. 187. 1000. 186. The follow-up throat cutting damage with 380% bonus directly dealt over 5 million in extremely high damage, also within this second. Countless fire red branches of the Nightmare Hellflower spread out from the magma river and swept around. Once hit by them, one would be hooked by the flame thorns on them and be unable to move for a period of time. Once dead, one would be hung up by these fire-red branches and have their tradable lifespan crazily absorbed. At the same time, magma missiles were shot out from the surrounding magma river and flew randomly within the deep pit area. Even Qinfeng was hit by quite a few magma missiles. Fortunately, the layers of his black light shield were sufficient and completely resisted the attacks of these magma missiles. Another second later, the throat-cutting damage exploded again. The health bar of the Nightmare Hellflower was directly left with only 2/3 remaining, and at the same time, the color of the health bar changed from red to gold, which meant that the boss had entered a stage of forced health lock and was temporarily invincible. Whoosh! From the center of the Nightmare Hellflower, a burst of magma sprayed out, and the temperature in the whole place suddenly rose. The upper body of a naked woman rose from the center of the flower. This was the true form of the Nightmare Hellflower, and at this moment, it was in an extremely angry state. 1. The upper body of the woman was about 7 or 8 meters tall, entirely fire-red. With a graceful and charming figure, her eyes were spraying magma, and her arms were countless fire-red branches, wildly swinging towards the surrounding space. Immediately, hundreds of black-red light dots were flung out from those fire-red branches. Nightmare Light Spirits. These are energy bodies purely formed by nightmare energy. Since they are energy bodies of the superior affix, they can track every person in the field. Even being invisible is ineffective. Each time being hit by a Nightmare Light Spirit, although there was no damage, it would accumulate the Nightmare Meter. This was the mechanism that even Qinfeng found troublesome. There were a total of 300 to 400 black-red Nightmare Light Spirits. As soon as they appeared, they flew towards every player in the volcanic space. Their speed wasn't too fast, but once people were hit by an average of 7 or 8 Nightmare Light Spirits, then except for Qinfeng, the nightmare meters of the others would definitely reach 100% on the spot and fall into the nightmare state. Fortunately, there was a special solution to this mechanism. That was passing the ball. In his previous life, the Daxia official had paid a considerable price and spent a full half a month researching before finally defeating this boss. And Qinfeng had also carefully studied the mechanism of this boss later. The official strategy time was already 2 months after the tragedy caused by Theodore. At that time, several main tanks in the team had already stacked up a not low nightmare resistance so that they could withstand it, and they had to change tanks many times in the middle. Even so, it was impossible to resist those Nightmare Light Spirits with just their bodies. When the boss reaches this stage, a Nightmare Tree will randomly appear on the surrounding ground. Attacking the Nightmare Tree can make Nightmare Fruits grow, as long as the Nightmare Fruit appears. The surrounding Nightmare Light Spirits will be attracted and go to find that Nightmare Fruit. When the Nightmare Light Spirits sprayed out by the Nightmare Hellflower were flying all over the sky, Late Night Drizzle and the others were all a bit puzzled. What's this? Do you see that tree over there? Attack that tree. Qinfeng reminded them in the team channel and directly used the deputy team leader's authority to mark the team on a newly spawned pure black tree in the field. Everyone looked over at once. The ranged classes didn't think twice and immediately took action. All kinds of ranged projectile skills, as well as some area of effect skills like blizzards, landed on the Nightmare Tree. After hundreds of attacks in a short time, a basketball-sized Nightmare Fruit successfully grew on the Nightmare Tree. Qinfeng quickly ran over and picked the Nightmare Fruit. Immediately, the Nightmare Light Spirits all over the sky flew towards Qinfeng. Keep a distance from each other and pass the ball over a long distance. Make sure those light balls don't touch the fruit. Qinfeng didn't have time to explain too much, but the players in the team were all the top players of the Modu official, with top-notch strength, reaction, and discipline, and they immediately responded. They scattered around the field one after another. Qinfeng aimed at a night player more than 100 meters away and threw the Nightmare Fruit in his hand towards him. The Nightmare Light Spirits all over the sky immediately changed direction and chased after the Nightmare Fruit. Once we're touched by the Nightmare Light Spirits, our Nightmare meters will accumulate by 10%. The Nightmare Light Spirits will be attracted by the Nightmare Fruit. Once they touch the Nightmare Fruit, they will split into 2. So, we need to avoid the Nightmare Light Spirits and also prevent them from touching the Nightmare Fruit. We use the way of passing the ball to attract the Nightmare Light Spirits. However, the flying speed of the Nightmare Light Spirits will get faster and faster. Everyone, be careful. Hearing Qinfeng's explanation, everyone's expressions became solemn. 10% of the Nightmare meter. There were 300 to 400 Nightmare Light Spirits in the field, flying all over the sky. If evenly distributed among them, it could immediately make their Nightmare meters reach 100%. So, the Nightmare Fruit had to be produced to attract the Nightmare Light Spirits at the same time, by passing the ball. Like walking a dog, they kited those Nightmare Light Spirits. Pass. I'll pass. Nice pass. I caught it. Soon, the Nightmare Fruit fell into Late Night Drizzle's hands. The Nightmare Light Spirits flying all over the sky flew towards Late Night Drizzle from midair, and their speed was getting faster and faster. Just at this time, Sunqing, who had just run away, found that the passage was blocked by stone walls and returned with an extremely ugly expression on his face. His Nightmare meter was still steadily rising. He wanted to come back to ask for help. When he walked out of the passage, Late Night Drizzle saw him. This hot-tempered girl immediately got angry. Catch. Late Night Drizzle threw the Nightmare Fruit in her hand towards Sunqing's direction. but deliberately threw it a little off. Sun Xing had just been kicked out of the team and didn't hear Qin Feng's explanation. Seeing a black thing flying over, he didn't even have time to dodge. "What's this?" Sun Xing was stunned for a moment. Unexpectedly, the nightmare fruit just missed him by a bit and flew into the passage behind him. The 300 to 400 nightmare light spirits, which were already fast enough, flew over in an instant. And because Sun Xing was standing outside the passage blocking the exit, those nightmare light spirits seemed to be flying towards Sun Xing one after another. The black-red light dots all over the sky, like a raging torrent, roared and poured into Sun Xing's body. Nightmare meter: 66% arrive, 76% arrive, 86% arrive, 96% arrive, 106% arrive. In the next moment, Sun Xing directly fell into the nightmare state, and his whole body began to twitch, completely losing the ability to control himself. The terrifying scenes in the nightmare made his face constantly distort, and he opened his mouth and screamed unconsciously. Even Qin Feng was shocked. This girl was really straightforward. Originally, Qin Feng planned that after everyone passed the ball to each other for 60 seconds, those nightmare light spirits would disappear automatically, and at the same time, the boss would end its invincible stage, but unexpectedly, Late Night Drizzle directly threw the ball towards Sun Xing and just happened to throw it a little off, throwing it into the passage behind him, allowing those nightmare light spirits to pour into Sun Xing's body when passing by, making him completely fall into the nightmare state. It seemed that she saw Qin Feng's look. Late Night Drizzle sent a private message to him a bit embarrassedly. "I say I didn't do it on purpose. Do you believe me?" Great God. Qin Feng couldn't help but laugh. "Do you believe it yourself?" Help me. Help me. My intestines. My intestines." Sun Xing screamed miserably, struggling and twisting, and fell into the deep pit in the nightmare. Unfortunately, there was a magma river right below. As soon as he fell into the magma, he was instantly burned to death by the extremely high damage of the magma. Puff! A fire-red branch flew out from the magma river and directly pierced through his head, hanging him up. Gulp! It directly absorbed all of his tradable lifespan, and when all the nightmare light spirits in the field poured into Sun Xing's body, the invincible state of the nightmare hellflower also ended. Now we can start to kill the boss in seconds. For the next stage, we can rely on the explosive damage of the ultimate skills to directly skip it otherwise. With just these people who are less than level 15, it's impossible to withstand it at all. Qin Feng shifted his attention back to the boss. He was extremely calm, even with his current combat power. If he wanted to kill the boss in seconds, he had to accurately calculate every bit of damage in order to smoothly skip the stage. As for Theodore and the others who had run away, they might think they were safe, but they couldn't imagine at all how quickly Qin Feng could defeat this diamond level boss. After dealing with the boss, it would be the end of Theodore and the others, taking a plane to run away. Do you think only you can fly? Deep within the Purgatory Volcano, no one mourned the death of Sun Xing after the invincible phase of the boss ended. Wanye Weiyu led the others and began to unleash their long-range skills one after another at the upper body of the woman on the giant flower. 169. 428 weakness attack. Seeing all kinds of skills hitting the boss, yet its health bar didn't budge at all. They were overwhelmed by an unimaginable sense of helplessness, and when comparing it with the terrifying damage dealt by Shadow, they could better understand to what extent Shadow had developed by now. Weiyu, all of you stop attacking. I'll calculate the damage and take down the boss in an instant, Qin Feng said calmly in the team channel. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the team was shocked. Calculate the damage, take down a diamond level boss in an instant. But this boss should still have one more phase, right? After hearing Qin Feng's words, although the others in the team were nervous, they still stopped their attacks. At this moment, the nightmare meter on everyone's body had already accumulated to 32%. Qin Feng, due to having 15 points of all superior resistances from the Devouring Spirit bloodline, had a lower nightmare meter than the others, but it had also reached 27%. There was no doubt about it. With the damage from the players in the team alone, it was impossible to defeat the boss before they fell into a nightmare. So, they could only rely on Shadow since they were in the same team. Even though Qin Feng was in an invisible state, the others could still see his figure. At this time, Qin Feng was extremely calm. 9 years of experience from his previous life had already made him thoroughly familiar with all the damage calculation formulas in the Forsaken God game. To skip a phase and take down the boss in an instant, we must ensure that we can instantly burst down the boss's last 12 million health points. We can only rely on the ultimate skill with the highest single damage, Scarlet Blade, combined with the active throat slit effect of Graceful Liberation. Since the Scarlet Blade had an execution effect, when releasing the Scarlet Blade, the lower the target's health was, the better. But it must be ensured that after releasing the Scarlet Blade once, the boss's health would not be lower than 12 million. Otherwise, it would enter the invincible health lock phase again, Shadow of Slaughter. Graceful Liberation, Scarlet Blade. After releasing the Scarlet Blade once, the boss's health must be a little over 12 million. In this way, we can directly take down the boss with the throat slit damage as high as 380% later. Qin Feng had a hunch that his current damage was still not enough. While throwing out shadow blades towards the boss to clear the buffs that occasionally appeared on the boss, he was silently calculating the damage in his mind. The Scarlet Blade deals blood elemental damage and is affected by the basic elemental attack. My basic elemental attack power is 399 points. The legendary effect of the Black Light Shield. When I have a damage immune shield on me, increases my basic attack power by 30%, which is about 400 points, and I'm in the level 21 invisible state. Each level of the invisible rank grants 335 points of hidden breaking attack, which adds up to about 7,000 points. I can also release Quiet Concealment first and then gain another 800 points of hidden breaking attack. The blood elemental attack attached to the Scarlet Blade is 400 points, all added together. The basic damage is 22, 600 points. Then calculate the damage bonus, multiplied by 3 for the class passive, multiplied by 3 for the weakness damage, and multiplied by 8 for the backstab damage, resulting in about 570,000. Immediately after that, he calculated the elemental resistance and damage reduction rate of the bomb. Qinfeng's bone spikes could reduce the target's elemental resistance by 30%. It had 37. 5% of ignoring elemental resistance on its own. The leather armor, Gift of Black Flame, although its effect on the diamond level boss was halved, stacking 5 layers of Black Flame also reduced the target's elemental resistance by 5%, all added together. It was 85%. In addition, the other casters in the team also had skills to reduce elemental resistance. With all these effects stacked together, the boss's elemental resistance was almost negligible. He only needed to consider the damage reduction. Based on the previous damage calculations, even without elemental resistance, this boss still has a damage reduction rate of about 70%. So, without considering the damage increase from the execution effect, the actual damage of Shadow of Slaughter plus Scarlet Blade, added up 4 times, is 570. Zhaozhen multiplied by 4 and then multiplied by 30%, which is 684. 1. Finally, we need to calculate the execution line of the Scarlet Blade. This was the most complicated step, but it wasn't difficult for Qinfeng. The Scarlet Blade had the maximum execution effect when the target had 30% of its health remaining, increasing the damage by 200%. According to Qinfeng's experience, the damage increase effect of this kind of execution line was usually linear, so it was roughly that for every 1% reduction in the target's health, the skill's damage increased by 86%. Qinfeng's mind was working frantically. Soon, he reached a conclusion that he needed to release that series of skills when the boss still had 14 million health points left to maximize the damage. Attack when the boss has 14 million health points left. The execution damage increase of the Scarlet Blade is about 175%, 684. Zhaozhen multiplied by 2, 75. And the final actual damage is about 9 million. Just enough to leave the boss with 12 million health points and prevent it from entering the health lock phase. Having calculated this far, Qinfeng frowned, because he found that if the actual damage of the Scarlet Blade was 9 million, the laceration damage per second would be 22 million. There was still a big gap compared to the 12 million health points needed to take down the boss in an instant. As long as he failed to kill the boss in one go, the boss would enter the invincible phase and directly lock its health. Although I can time it with a boss's action and stack up the combo points to instantly release the Scarlet Blade 3 times, but the total damage added up would only be 24 million. The damage isn't enough at this time. The importance of teammates was demonstrated. Save the Demon Hunting Mark skill when I tell you to release it. Release it towards the boss. Remember to dodge its skills and don't die during that time. Qinfeng said in the team channel, the Demon Hunting Mark was an exclusive skill for the Demon Hunter class and could be effective against any boss. After applying the Demon Hunting Mark, any damage the boss received would increase by 15%. There was no doubt about the skill's effect, but its duration was only 5 seconds, while its cooldown was as long as 60 seconds. So it wasn't a conventional mean. However, this skill could just make up for the little bit of damage that Qinfeng was lacking. Okay. Wanye Wei Yu nodded without hesitation. With the Demon Hunting Mark, I need to attack earlier. Qinfeng recalculated. He reached a conclusion that he could take down the target when the boss had 3 million health points left. Of course, there was also a commonly used little trick involved. That was to time it with a boss's skill release action, when the boss's health dropped below the health lock line. If it was in the middle of releasing a skill, it would wait until the skill was released before entering the invincible health lock state. The skill release speed of diamond level bosses was extremely fast, and the Nightmare Hellflower in front of them, after Qinfeng's observation, had 2 relatively long skill releases that took about 5 seconds each. During this time, Qinfeng could continuously release multiple skills to take down the boss. Of course, even with the 20% skill release speed bonus from Dual Blade Mastery, Qinfeng could only release 2 skills at most during this short period of time. Fortunately, the ultimate skill Scarlet Blade had no cooldown time, and a player's combo points could accumulate up to 100 points at most. That meant Qinfeng could continuously release the Scarlet Blade twice. Then here we go! Qinfeng kept throwing out Shadow Blades, constantly dodging the boss's skills during that time. The smooth upper body of the woman had countless flaming branches on its arms, sweeping across everyone around constantly. and the whole area was filled with magma and flames. Whenever some buffs like increased attack, increased defense, or elemental resistance appeared on the boss, they were all directly cleared by Qinfeng's Shadow Blades. The health of the Nightmare Hellflower was dropping rapidly. 17 million, 16 million, 15 million, 14, 5 million, 14, 3 million. When the target's health reached Qinfeng's estimated value, Qinfeng had also stacked up 100 combo points. He observed the boss's actions and predicted its next skill. For the next few seconds, Qinfeng didn't launch an attack or give any instructions. He was just dodging the boss's skills. This made everyone in the arena, watching the constantly rising nightmare meter above their heads, break out in a cold sweat. Suddenly, 8 seconds later, Qinfeng said in the team channel, "Now, Demon Hunting Mark, Demon Hunting Mark, Wanye Weiyu," standing on the surrounding stone platform, raised his hand and shot a crossbow bolt at the boss. The crossbow bolt accurately hit the head of the woman's upper body. Puff! 599 weakness attack. Demon Hunting Mark took effect. Immediately after that, a scene that shocked everyone appeared. Shadow of Slaughter. Quiet Concealment. Graceful Liberation. Scarlet Blade. Qinfeng leaped up, raised his hand and released 3 shadow clones. And then a series of skills flew out of his hands. 4 Scarlet Blade lights instantly landed on the smooth chest of the boss. 536. Zhouzen weakness attack. 559. Zhouzen weakness attack. 586. Zhouzen weakness attack. 557. Zhouzen weakness attack. 4 consecutive damage numbers popped up above the boss's head. 2 of the damage numbers were a bit lower, while the other 2 were a bit higher. The 2 higher damage numbers were due to triggering a 40% chance of 40 points of water elemental attack, which came from the diamond level weapon, Tide Playing Blade, and this was also the margin that Qinfeng had left for himself in his calculations to avoid any accidents. Boss's remaining health, 12. 11 million. Qinfeng waited for 1 second. Sure enough, the boss raised its hand and released a 3-second skill. Countless flaming boulders were shaken out from the surrounding lava river and flew towards the official players around during this short 3 seconds. The throat slit damage from Graceful Liberation burst out. 2. 37,000. 2. 24. 2. 37,000. 2. 117. 1,000. At the same time, Qinfeng held 2 daggers and released the Scarlet Blade twice in succession at the fastest speed. 589. Zhouzen weakness attack. 615. Zhouzen weakness attack. 8 consecutive full execution damages of the Scarlet Blade, around 600,000 each, plus over 8 million throat slit damage just before the boss finished releasing its skill and before the lava branch-like arms around were about to land. Over 12 million terrifying damage was dealt, emptying the boss's last health bar. The whole process was precise and elegant. Players: Shadow, Great Xia. Wanye Weiyu, Great Xia. Wucheng Great Xia achieved the world's first kill of a diamond level boss and gained 60 reputation points. Mem. A system prompt for the first kill rang in the minds of all players around the world. At this moment, the whole world was shocked. First kill of the diamond level boss. The ringing of this system prompt plunged countless people around the world into a state of shock. Damn it. First kill of a diamond level boss. We're struggling even with gold level bosses. How many levels ahead of us is Lord Shadow? At this stage, basically all the top teams in the world are trying to take down platinum level bosses, and they're all having an incredibly tough time, and yet Shadow has achieved the first kill of a diamond level boss already. Did you notice that Shadow used to solo before? But this time he brought teammates. Of course, I noticed. I was even wondering before why the reputation points given for the world's first kill were so few, considering how difficult it was. Now I realize it's just that Lord Shadow is too powerful. Yeah, if it's a team achieving the first kill together, then each member would get the reputation points, and it would add up to a decent amount. It's just that all the previous first kills were solo kills by Shadow. In the Great Xia, countless players were excited and proud. After all, Shadow was from the Great Xia. With such a top-notch powerhouse in the Great Xia, wouldn't it be possible to crush all other opponents? In this new era when the Forsaken God game had descended, how much would the Great Xia be ahead of other countries? In contrast, many players from other hostile countries were as sad as if they had lost their parents. All the major social platforms were filled with wails. Oh my god. Shadow has achieved another first kill. Now it's a diamond level boss? What will it be next? I can't even imagine. Completely awesome. Shadow, come to our Great Han country. There are so many beautiful girls in our Great Han country. Get lost. There are also lots of beautiful girls in our Tianju. The good news is that this time, Shadow didn't kill alone but brought a team. It seems that his strength also has its limits. Yeah, even Shadow brought teammates. Which shows that the Forsaken God game isn't a game for one person in the later stages. Unfortunately, they didn't know. During the process of this first kill of the diamond level boss, Qinfeng's damage output accounted for over 99%. Meanwhile, on a Columbia Airlines plane that had just taken off from Shanghai and was flying to Washington in North America. Originally, Theodore and the others were resting with their eyes closed. They had just teleported out through the wall from deep within the Purgatory volcano, and then they logged out directly, and their consciousness returned to the plane. Zuma. I didn't expect there were officials from the Great Xia who would help us. It's so funny. Fury. I'm actually suspicious why that female captain from the Great Xia suddenly attacked Zuma and silenced him. Could it be that she discovered our plan in advance? Amos. I think she probably discovered that I was building a wall behind to block the passage. Theodore. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they were trapped inside, and the diamond level boss with 36 million health points had been activated. Even for Shadow, it would be impossible to defeat the boss before the nightmare meter reached 100%. Just as he said this, the system prompt for the world's first kill of the diamond level boss rang directly in their minds. Countless question marks popped up in the minds of these guys. What the fuck? Amos couldn't hold it in and exclaimed with his eyes wide open. In fact, it wasn't just him. When Qinfeng's first kill system prompt came, hundreds of passengers on the plane were all shocked, whether they knew each other or not. They couldn't help but start discussing with each other. The ones who were most shocked were naturally Theodore and the others. This diplomat uncle was just saying impossible. But then, the first kill prompt slapped him right in the face. A direct slap in the face. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Such a short time to deal 36 million damage? What about the mechanism? The invincible health lock. Don't tell me the diamond level boss has no mechanisms. Theodore and the others instantly began to doubt their lives. Their faces turned extremely ugly, although they didn't suffer any losses, failing to take down Shadow meant that their operation had failed all over the world. People were boiling with heated discussions. Qinfeng himself, however, remained calm. For him, the diamond level boss was just the starting point of this game. Fortunately, this boss didn't have high dodge. My hit correction was enough to reach 100%. Otherwise, it would have been really hard to calculate so accurately. Qinfeng watched as the boss's health bar was emptied and heard the system prompt for the first kill come, and finally let out a sigh of relief. Everything he did seemed simple and flowed smoothly, but it was all based on his extremely accurate damage calculations. This was the art of damage. If they had gone through the normal mechanisms, Qinfeng calculated the time and realized that he himself might survive, but the others probably wouldn't be able to withstand the invasion of the nightmare energy and would all fall into a nightmare state. In the arena, Wanye Weiyu and the others watched Qinfeng's instant burst of power and were all awed without fully understanding what was going on. They were all plunged into unimaginable shock. Come and pick up the equipment. Be careful not to fall into the lava river, Qinfeng said to Wanye Weiyu in the team channel. Then he raised his hand and released Greedy Hand. He directly looted more than 10 epic level trophies and over 30 diamond level trophies. This was a real bumper harvest. As long as Qinfeng fully absorbed this batch of trophies, his combat power would skyrocket further. The most direct impact would be he would obtain equipment or skill books of the initial legendary level. You know, an assassin's divine skill, like Graceful Liberation, was only initially at the epic level. So, how powerful would a skill at the initial legendary level be? With just a little evolution, it might even surpass the mythical level and reach a higher level, the ancient level. When Qinfeng first learned about this grading, he still thought it was a bit strange. After all, the ancient level didn't sound as impressive as the mythical level, but he got used to it later. Most importantly, even in Qinfeng's 9 years in his previous life, he had only obtained 2 pieces of equipment or skill books at the ancient level. Most of the top powerhouses in the world had a mix of legendary and mythical equipment on them, so it was really not something that ordinary people could get their hands on. However, Qinfeng didn't deal with these trophies immediately. Instead, he called Wanye Weiyu over. Let's log out together now. You go to the officials and send me the flight route of Theodore and the others. I'll take care of them. Hearing Qinfeng's words, Wanye Weiyu's eyes lit up, but soon her delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly. However, that flight was part of a political exchange. There are not only North Americans on it, but also quite a number of people from the Great Xia. Meanwhile, there's also a flight from North America carrying our diplomatic officials from the Great Xia that's on its way back to the Great Xia. If we destroy that plane, it'll be a world war. Qinfeng heard this and shook his head. Don't worry, I'll only deal with those 6 guys and won't affect the others. Besides, if I hadn't been on guard this time, we would all have died here, so I think just killing those 6 isn't enough. Of course, the rest will be left to you officials. Rooting out the grass and eradicating the roots. This is the traditional virtue of our Great Xia, right? Wanye Weiyu was stunned for a moment, but soon she understood what Qinfeng meant. Theodore, Zuma, Fury, those 6 players had set up such a trap together. If Shadow hadn't been powerful enough, they would all have perished deep within the volcano by now. How many people would have died then? Shadow would go after these 6 main culprits and solve them, although she didn't know how he would do it. Wanye Weiyu was willing to believe that Shadow wouldn't just talk big. And besides these 6 main culprits, there were also their families. The saying, don't involve the family in the misfortunes of the individual, might not apply in this era. When cutting the grass, you had to pull out the roots. After figuring out what Qinfeng meant, Wanye Weiyu felt a bit of a chill run down her spine. This Shadow really lived up to his vengeful nature to the fullest. Alright, I got it. I'll report your words to the higher-ups. Wanye Weiyu bowed respectfully and then said, let's log out for now. After I get the information, I'll contact you through the Communication Crystal Ring. The Communication Crystal Ring was a prop created by the God-given book. It could be worn on the wrist, allowing players to have voice, text, and even video communications with their friends in the real world. Compared to mobile phones, the advantage was that its location couldn't be tracked by anyone. Let's go, Qinfeng said and then logged out. As for the idea of rooting out the grass and eradicating the roots, strictly speaking, it wasn't his proposal. In his previous life, after the tragic incident in Shanghai, due to various reasons. They couldn't directly take action against the plane where Theodore and the others were on, but that didn't mean the Great Xia didn't do anything. In fact, half a day later, when Theodore and the others landed, they immediately received a tragic piece of news. Their families in different cities in the Great May, including the elderly, children, brothers, and sisters, had all been slaughtered by unknown people. Although Theodore and the others were protected by the Great May authorities layer by layer and managed to grow stronger. But did they really gain anything from this? And this time, if nothing unexpected happened, Theodore and the others would be in an even worse situation. Qin Feng was going to make sure their 6 families were all wiped out. Qin Feng chose to log out. Before this, most of his skills had already been synchronized to the real world. After all, he didn't lack lifespan now. This time when he logged out, he synchronized his level, class, bloodline, and useful skills again, only the equipment hadn't been synchronized with that in the game. Then, he consumed 157, 6 years of lifespan to extract the Tears of the Witch Apostle, Livia epic level. After extracting this necklace, all of Qin Feng's skill levels increased by 7 levels. Finally, he extracted Orsilio's Mount Bell, consuming 617 years of lifespan. Damn it. Such a gold eater. Qin Feng was depressed. The extraction cost of the Mount Bell was 10 times that of equipment of the same level. Since it took 157 years to extract the epic level equipment, Tears of the Witch Apostle, Livia, it was normal for the higher level Orsilio's Bell to cost 617 years of lifespan for extraction. Even though Qin Feng already had nearly 3,000 years of tradable lifespan, after these operations, he only had less than 1,000 years of lifespan left, truly worthy of being an epic level item. This thing, in my previous life, I didn't start to get in touch with until 4 or 5 years later. Unexpectedly, I have it now when I'm only at level 20. Growing too fast had led to the consumption of lifespan being many times higher than in his previous life. Soon, Qin Feng came out of the soul purifying land. He arrived at the beach of the East China Sea in Shanghai and shook the Mount Bell to release Orsilio. Merge into the darkness. Darkness enveloped Qin Feng and Orsilio, and both of them entered the invisible state at the same time. The Bone Sword Wyvern, King of the Predators, Orsilio was summoned by Qin Feng to the Blue Star. At this time, it was noon, and the sun was shining brightly. Orsilio narrowed his green eyes. Human assassin, is this the world where you live? This sun is so comfortable. It's a pity that it'll disappear soon, just like in my world. Qin Feng was silent for a moment after hearing this. He knew that Orsilio's original world was different from the Blue Star. The Blue Star belonged to the civilized world, while Orsilio's world was the wild world. Unlike the civilized social system built by humans on the Blue Star, every wild world was a world ruled by the brutal law of the jungle, where the weak were prey to the strong, and the demons on the Forsaken God continent were all captured from different wild worlds. Low-level demons were replicated infinitely by some means similar to cloning, thus forming a monster-spawning cycle. They were tools for players to kill and level up, even if they had intelligence. It was just the instinct for survival. But when it came to epic level and above, things were completely different. So for Orsilio, it had memories of destroying cities and killing millions of humans. That was when it was an epic level boss and wiped out millions of players from a certain civilized world. All epic level and above bosses were powerful and terrifying existences that were even smarter than humans. And they were given the title of boss and endowed with various super powerful mechanisms. Those were the real challenges for human players. Unfortunately, whether it was the civilized world or the wild world, once selected by the Forsaken God game, they would gradually fall into a state of desolation. As the desolation spread, the whole world seemed to be trapped in another dimension. And the sun, moon, stars would all become extremely distant until they completely disappeared. Suddenly, the light purple communication crystal ring on Qin Feng's wrist suddenly flashed with a purple light. Wanye Weiyu, great god, I've sent you the flight route. Please check it. Shadow. Okay. Qin Feng reached out to check the crystal screen of the communication crystal ring and saw the flight route map sent by Wanye Weiyu. Then he directly mounted Orsilio and set off. It's estimated to be over 500 kilometers away. It'll take less than 20 minutes to catch up, Qin Feng thought calmly. Ahead was a clear sky, according to the flight route map sent by Wanye Weiyu. Qin Feng rode to Orsilio and chased after it at supersonic speed. Now, I wonder what expressions Theodore and the others have. They intended to set a trap for us. Unexpectedly, instead, I got the world's first kill of a diamond-level boss. The corners of Qin Feng's mouth curled up slightly. Originally, according to the plan, he asked Wanye Weiyu to take action, pushing the Soul Walker towards the boss to let the boss kill him. And he would also let the others take action to control the other 4 people and send them to the boss to be killed. In that way, they would fall into a nightmare state and struggle in nightmares before dying. But the appearance of Sun Qing had changed things. He actually removed the silence from the Soul Walker and let him escape. In fact, at that time, Qin Feng had had the chance to instantly kill Theodore and the other 5 people, but he didn't make a move. First, even if Qin Feng killed them, they wouldn't really die. In the end, he would still have to make this trip. Second, if he killed them in front of the boss, not only could they be immediately resurrected without any pain, but their lifespan would also be sucked away by the boss, resulting in losses. So, Qin Feng simply decided to deal with them all at the end. 15 minutes later, the invisible Orsilio was soaring thousands of meters above the ground, having already flown over the clouds. According to Qin Feng's route guidance, a Columbia Airlines plane gradually appeared ahead, sailing smoothly above the rolling clouds. Orsilio. Damn it. What the hell is that? It's even bigger than me. In just a short time, this guy had already learned to refer to himself as I in the way of the Great Xia language, adapting to the local customs quite well. Qin Feng. That's the plane created by us humans. Orsilio. 6. So the plane in the Great Xia language is this iron frame. I thought it was a flying chicken. Qin Feng. I think you're the flying chicken. Silently. Orsilio chased after it at an explosive speed. Orsilio. So what if it's bigger than me? It's not as fast as me. Qin Feng couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. So you mean you're small but fast? 1. Orsilio. Get lost. Above the clouds, thousands of meters in the air, Qin Feng rode the king of the predators and flew directly above the plane. Then, Han Feng jumped down from Orsilio's back, he calculated the time and activated the special effect invisibility of the invisible shoes, directly eliminating his own collision volume. After all, these shoes could pass through walls, so Qin Feng had extracted them to the real world, and now they really came in handy. In the invisible state, Han Feng directly passed through the top of the plane and landed at the rear of the passenger cabin. When he landed, he took the initiative to cancel the invisibility buff to avoid falling through the bottom of the plane. At this time, in the plane's passenger cabin, passengers were chatting and discussing in various languages about Shadow, who had just achieved the first kill of the diamond-level boss, and Theodore and the other 6 people were sitting in 2 rows, one in front and one behind, with their faces ashen. Suddenly, Theodore heard a voice in the Great Xia language beside his ear. Brother, wanna buy cheats? Theodore's hair stood on end instantly. He had heard this voice not long ago. Wasn't it the voice of Shadow? Then the question came. Son of a bitch. Didn't Shadow just achieve the first kill of the diamond-level boss? How could he be on our plane? Even if he can fly, it's impossible for him to enter our plane without a sound. Theodore was completely dumbfounded. His first reaction was whether he was having auditory hallucinations, so he stood up from his seat and took a look around. Then he saw that the heart of Soulwalker Zuma, the core member of their team, had been pierced by a black shadow blade, almost nailing him to his seat. He didn't even have a chance to use his class skills and died on the spot. All of this happened silently, and neither Theodore nor anyone else around had time to react. Oh, fuck. Shadow. Shadow is on our plane. Oh my god. Zuma is dead. How is it possible? How did he get on board? Theodore, Amos, Fury, and the other remaining 5 people were all horrified. Before they could react, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In just 1 second, 3 consecutive shadow blades shot out from the aisle out of thin air, piercing through the hearts of Amos and the other 3 people and killing them right in their seats. Only Theodore and Fury were left. Damn it. In such a dangerous situation, Theodore cursed under his breath and directly grabbed the golden-haired, short-haired girl beside him, using her as a human shield while leaning his back against the plane window. Fury, the girl with a pockmarked face, was completely dumbfounded. She had originally thought that she and this uncle had true love. Unexpectedly, when facing danger, Theodore actually used her as a human shield. She subconsciously took out her exclusive weapon, a flintlock gun that had already been extracted to the real world. From her backpack, she stretched the muzzle out from under her arm and fired a shot backward. Bang! Theodore felt a sharp pain in his chest when he heard the gunshot, and then he knew nothing. Even Qin Feng hadn't expected this situation. However, he didn't hesitate at all. He raised his hand and threw another shadow blade, which pierced through the forehead of the golden-haired girl and sent her straight to hell. With the exclamations of the few people before they died and the gunshot that startled the entire cabin, everyone on the plane was shocked. Oh god, someone is committing murder on the plane. Is it Shadow? I heard them shouting Shadow's name. Someone even fired a gun. What? Shadow is on our plane. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. My husband is from the Great Xia. When they all stood up and looked over the seats where Theodore and the others were, they found that several lifespan light spheres were being absorbed by someone at an extremely fast speed. Soon, they were all absorbed. The most terrifying thing was that scarlet death flowers bloomed on the 6 corpses, making the entire cabin look like hell. Mr. Shadow. Mr. Shadow. Please calm down. A white girl who was about 175 meters tall. Seemingly, the flight attendant in charge of this flight shouted nervously in fluent Great Xia language. It could be seen that the girl was trembling a little. After all, this was on a plane. Murder on a plane. This girl had never encountered such a thing in all her years as a flight attendant. However, after she shouted, no one responded to her. The cabin was in chaos. Qin Feng's appearance directly plunged everyone in the cabin into panic. Little did they know that after succeeding, Qin Feng directly left the plane through the special effect of invisibility behind the plane. Qin Feng, in an invisible state, descended from the sky and landed accurately on the back of Orsilio, who was also invisible. No one knew that Qin Feng had already left with his achievements unrecognized. The total harvest is 124 years of tradable lifespan, 45 years of non-tradable lifespan. It's okay. 1. The harvest was about what Qinfeng had expected. He didn't care much, and directly wrote Orsilio back. With the trouble solved, it was time to go back and sort out the huge harvest obtained from the diamond-level boss. During this process, the deaths of Theodore and the other 6 people on the plane quickly spread. It was mainly due to the emergency communications under the special circumstances on the plane. As for the cabin, although some passengers had communication crystal rings, they all thought that Shadow was still in the cabin and didn't dare to breathe loudly. In the territory of the Great May Empire, this incident went viral on various online forums. Shadow appears in this plane cabin and kills our country's diplomats. Can invisibility really allow one to do whatever one wants? What kind of grudge made Shadow hide on the plane to kill people? Shadow is on the plane. Is it the best chance to get rid of Shadow? The Great Xia doesn't play by the rules. It's recommended to start a full-scale war. On the Great May online forums, countless people were filled with righteous indignation. On some global online forums as well, many people also began to accuse the Great Xia and Shadow of killing people without reason. The Great May authorities quickly issued a statement. The Great Xia's Shadow brutally killed our country's official diplomatic personnel. This act is regarded as an unprovoked provocation against our country, and our country has the right to take any action in response. The statement from the Great May authorities received support from many people around the world, because the unrestrained Shadow had made countless people around the world feel fearful. However, soon, the Great Xia authorities responded forcefully. Theodore, Fury, Amos, Zuma, these 6 people set a trap in the game when they left the Great Xia and trapped a total of 60 of our officials and Shadow in a place where an extremely dangerous diamond-level boss was located. They built stone walls through the God-given book, blocking the only way for us to leave, trying to kill us all. Fortunately, Mr. Shadow was powerful enough to kill the diamond-level boss before we died. Below is the specific mechanism of this diamond-level boss. About the nightmare affix, we hope everyone will be more vigilant when encountering similar bosses. Finally, we attach a video. This is the result of one of our official members after falling into a nightmare. The final video was about Sun Xing in the real world. Sun Xing fell into a nightmare during the boss battle and was then killed. His consciousness couldn't return, and he couldn't be revived in the game either. In the video, Sun Xing was on the sofa at home. His body still in a semi-transparent state, sometimes convulsing violently, sometimes making babbling sounds, and sometimes having spasms all over his body. It was extremely tragic. Finally, the Great Xia authorities concluded. This person's name is Sun Xing. His body in the game has been burned by magma and couldn't be brought out, and this area has a lifespan flow rate 10,000 times faster. His nightmare state will last for several days. It can be speculated that he will soon die completely due to the complete depletion of his lifespan in the nightmare. If it weren't for Shadow, all 60 of our officials would have suffered this fate. Therefore, Shadow's actions are actions supported by the Great Xia authorities. Anyone who provokes the Great Xia without reason will be punished, no matter how far away they are. Any actions taken by the Great May against Shadow will be pursued to the end by our Great Xia, and will be regarded as a provocation against our Great Xia. Such a tough official statement directly shocked the whole world. Originally, many people around the world thought that Shadow had killed Theodore and the other 6 people for no reason. So there was such a large-scale panic. After all, not many people knew about the diamond-level boss, but after the detailed explanation by the Great Xia authorities, people around the world not only learned about the despicable deeds of Theodore and the others, but also witnessed the horror of the superior affix in the game. This made a large part of people's attitudes change. Shadow. It seemed that all the people he had killed were those who had actively provoked him. As long as you don't provoke Shadow, you won't get into trouble. Qinfeng soon learned about the reactions from both the Great May and the Great Xia. The announcement from the Great Xia side was a bit of a surprise to him. When he took action earlier, Qinfeng had known that the Great May would definitely be extremely angry. As for the reaction from the Great Xia side, there were 2 possibilities. One was to distance themselves from him, saying that it was Shadow's personal action and had nothing to do with the Great Xia. In that case, even if the Great May wanted to find someone to hold accountable, they wouldn't be able to find anyone. And the Great Xia wouldn't have to face the pressure from the Great May officially. All the risks would be transferred to the unfindable Shadow. The other was to become Qinfeng's backer, just like now, directly taking responsibility for his actions. Using Sun Xing's current situation as evidence, Wang Weiyu must have been prepared when she threw the ball at him. Right, Qinfeng smiled and didn't think too much about it. He didn't really care about the choice of the Great Xia authorities. Anyway, for him, no matter what the Great Xia did, it wouldn't have much impact on him. It was Wang Weiyu who told him a piece of news that arrangements were already being made to take action against the families of Theodore and the other 6 people. Since the Great Xia had informants in the Great May, it was reasonable for the Great May to have informants in the Great Xia as well, right? And at this time, the Great May authorities were in a heated argument. At this moment, Shadow is on that plane. I suggest blowing up the plane to eliminate Shadow once and for all. Are you crazy? There are many of our people on the plane too. I support blowing up the plane. Shadow is too much of a threat, and since he's on the plane, once it lands in Washington, all of us will be in danger. A bunch of idiots? I really want to kick your asses hard with my boots. It's a new era now. Don't think that a missile can eliminate a powerful person. That's right. Shadow is at a high level, with powerful equipment and skills, and there's the existence of damage immune shields in the game, even if he's really on the plane. Blowing up the plane probably won't kill him. They discussed back and forth, some proposed to give it a try, and there were also those who agreed. But in the end, no one was willing to take the responsibility, so this proposal eventually came to nothing. However, to prevent Shadow from landing in Washington, the whole of the Great May was on high alert and had already been waiting in full force at the airport. Qinfeng naturally didn't pay attention to this. Let them fight a battle of wits with thin air. Player Shadow has logged in. Qinfeng returned to the game. He appeared deep within the Purgatory Volcano. When the Nightmare Hellflower was defeated, the nightmare energy around here dissipated completely. But the 10,000 times lifespan flow rate still remained. During this period, the rest of Wanye Weiyu's team, led by Wu Chang, worked together to destroy the 9 stone walls blocking the passage. It took them a full half an hour, and Qinfeng didn't leave immediately. He first checked the harvest brought by the Nightmare Hellflower. 8 pieces of epic level equipment, 4 epic level skill books. 22 pieces of diamond level equipment, 9 diamond level skill books. 125 pieces of emerald level equipment, 43 emerald level skill books. Qinfeng first took out all the assassin skill books and learned them. The duplicate ones and those of other classes were used for synthesis. First, synthesize 20 pieces of diamond level equipment into 2 pieces of epic level equipment and then transform them. If the attributes are not good, use them to synthesize legendary equipment. As for the skill books, the quantity is a bit scarce. It's not enough to synthesize a legendary one yet. Qinfeng really wanted a legendary skill now. With just a small number of evolution points, he could evolve the skill to the ancient level, which was above the mythical level. Any ancient level skill would bring a qualitative change to one's strength in a certain aspect. But now that there weren't enough skill books, there was nothing he could do. We can only wait until we get more diamond level and epic level skill books later. Besides, the evolution points gained from the boss were 206, a total of 1200 points. Qinfeng didn't plan to use these evolution points for the time being. I can save up to 3000 points first and evolve Graceful Liberation to the ancient level. This should be the biggest improvement for me at present. Qinfeng felt a bit frustrated. Now he had already learned over 30 assassin skills that were not very useful, but he didn't have the evolution points to evolve them. Evolution points were always extremely scarce, no matter when. Compared to that, it was more important to evolve Graceful Liberation first. First evolve an ancient level skill and then consider evolving the skills used for devouring spirits. In addition, Qinfeng took a look at his experience point. There wasn't much difference from leveling up to level 25. Keep farming for a while. After leveling up to level 25, I can use the Bell of the Trial Envoy once, summon that as Shashi's, and go through another trial. The difficulty will be higher than before, but the rewards will also be better. Qinfeng was looking forward to what rewards the next trial would offer. So, he walked towards other branch paths deep within the Purgatory Volcano and started farming monsters here. It was unimaginable for others. After all, this was a nightmare area with a 10,000 times lifespan flow rate, but for Qinfeng, as long as he was in an invisible state, the 10,000 times for him was equivalent to 1,000 times. Moreover, there were quite a number of monsters in this place, which was just suitable for him to farm monsters. He would definitely make a profit in terms of lifespan. After a full 7 or 8 hours, Qinfeng transformed the 2 synthesized epic level equipment into assassin equipment. At the same time, he also transformed the other 8 pieces of epic level equipment into assassin equipment. Then he combined them 10 into 1 and obtained a legendary assassin equipment. Before this, Qinfeng had already experimented with low-level equipment. As long as the 10 pieces of equipment skill books used for synthesis were all of the same class, then the synthesized product would also be the equipment or skill book of that class. You have obtained the Maker of Tyrone III, Blade of the Star, Killer Legendary level, a legendary weapon, Maker of Tyrone III. What a strange prefix. Qinfeng looked at the amethyst dagger obtained through equivalent exchange in his backpack with a bit of confusion. Maker of Tyrone III, Blade of the Star, Killer, Assassin weapon. Physical attack power plus 1440, strength plus 8, agility plus 68, backstab damage plus 107%. Required level 4. Special, stripping plus 33, 6-1. Unique effect, soul stealing. When killing other players, each layer of the Soul Spirit effect stacks 200 points of basic physical attack power, up to 20 layers. The effect disappears after you die or change weapons. Unique effect, damage to shields barriers increased by 488%. Legend, Tyrone, the King of Assassins. Those who die by this blade shall be my grandsons and be named Tyrone III. Qinfeng was a bit confused when he looked at the small words at the bottom of the weapon. Case solved. As long as you're killed by this dagger, you're my grandson. So simply put, this dagger is also called the Grandson Maker. Of course, aside from the weapon's name and the legend introduction, the attributes of the Blade of the Star Killer were really amazing. The basic attributes come with 177% backstab damage. My dual blade mastery can enhance the effect by 25%, and the final backstab damage is 221%. All the backstab damage entries from different sources on the whole body, such as critical hit damage, hit correction, etc. are added together. Now the legendary backstab enhancement provides 215% backstab damage, added together. It's 436%. Just this one entry doubled Qinfeng's damage. An effect that increases attack when killing someone is equivalent to adding 4,000 points of basic physical attack power. And there's another effect that provides a 488% damage increase against shields and barriers. These are all very practical effects. Most importantly, there's also a special superior affix stripping. 1. The superior affix stripping. The 33.6 stripping affix meant that with each attack by Qinfeng, he could stack 33.6% of the stripping meter on the target. 2. When the stripping meter reached 100%, all the superior affixes possessed by the target would become ineffective. 1. This was also very effective when fighting bosses. Even in the later stages, many high-level bosses with multiple affixes couldn't be fought without bringing some stripping affixes. Otherwise, players would be toyed with and slaughtered by those bosses. If I had this affix when dealing with the Nightmare Hellflower, I wouldn't have to worry about the nightmare meter filling up at all. Before my nightmare meter reached 100%, I would definitely be able to trigger the stripping effect once, making its nightmare affix temporarily ineffective and thus gaining some buffer time. Of course, high-level bosses usually had relatively high superior resistances. It didn't mean that Qinfeng could completely strip the superior affix effects of a boss just by hitting it 3 times. However, Qinfeng's attack frequency was very high now. It wouldn't be too difficult for him to fill up the 100% stripping meter. The Nightmare Hellflower is a level 25 boss. This weapon can only be equipped at level 24. Since that's the case, I'll level up to level 24 directly. Qinfeng's experience had already been enough for level 24 long ago, and he was just a little short of reaching level 25. And after level 20, each level up would grant 6 points to all attributes, plus 15 free attribute points. So when Qinfeng reached level 24, his all attributes increased by 24 points. And he also obtained 60 free attribute points. My agility effect is nearly 1,000 points now. I can temporarily stop adding points to agility. Let's boost Spirit first. Spirit affected the resistance to mental effects and also increased Qinfeng's elemental attack power. Most assassin players had to choose between physical damage and elemental damage. But Qinfeng had the infinite evolution talent and the devouring spirit bloodline. So only kids make choices. I want them all. To use a certain game as an analogy, although champions like Talon and Zed were cool, champions like Katarina and Akali, who were magic assassins, were also very powerful. Anyway, with the effect of the devouring spirit bloodline, in the later stages, each point of strength and spirit for Qinfeng was at least several times, or even more, as effective as that of others. Under such circumstances, even if Qinfeng distributed his free attribute points separately, the effect would still far exceed that of anyone else. The most crucial point was that whether it was a physical assassin or a magic assassin, there were many overpowered skills in the later stages, so Qinfeng didn't plan to give up on any aspect. Next, I'll just level up to level 25 first, just at this moment. Qinfeng received a private message from a friend, 10 miles of green mountains away. Well, senior, are you free? I want to do my 2nd class advancement. I've searched all over the ground of the academy, but couldn't find what I need. It's very likely to be underground. 3, Qinfeng replied. Wait for me for an hour? His leveling spot was good, and he was too lazy to leave for the moment. Since he was just a bit short of experience, he decided to level up to level 25 first, Zhang Jinxuan. Of course, wouldn't have any objections. So, an hour later, Qinfeng finally reached level 25. He still added all the 15 free points to Spirit. Then he mounted Orsilio and quickly flew back to the ruins of Shanghai. When Qinfeng returned to the Cursed Spirit Academy, he found that the current Sky Vault Guild had developed quite well in the ground area of the Cursed Spirit Academy. Although many of the ground buildings were still in ruins, a library ruin had been completely renovated, and countless players were coming and going. At this time, the Sky Vault Guild already had nearly 10,000 members, and they were all elites who had passed various tests. At this moment, these members of the Sky Vault Guild were still heatedly discussing the matter of Qinfeng killing Theodore and the others. This matter made the members of the Sky Vault Guild quite proud, although strictly speaking, this had nothing to do with them. Anyway, this could be regarded as something that boosted the prestige of our country. Not only the members of the Sky Vault Guild, but even people in other cities, and all over the Great Xia, were full of praise for this matter. Who wouldn't clap and cheer when seeing arrogant, the Great Mei get slapped in the face? And when Qinfeng came back, he sent a private message to 10 miles of green mountains away. That is Zhang Jinxuan, the beautiful granddaughter of old Zhang. This beautiful soul painter had been waiting for a long time. Qinfeng didn't cancel his invisible state. He just sent her a team invitation and then gave her a permission so that she could use the teleportation array of the Cursed Spirit Academy to go to the first underground floor. Let's go. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them were teleported to the first underground floor of the Cursed Spirit Academy together. This was a research hall built with bright red brick walls. There were many magic barrier enhancement devices in it, which could be activated at critical moments to enhance the strength of the barriers. Zhang Jinxuan was wearing a light golden gold-level robe, holding a paintbrush in her right hand. With an elegant temperament and a gentle smile on her pretty face, sorry for the trouble. Senior, it's a small matter. Let's start looking. If we can't find it, We'll go to the next floor. Qin Feng nodded and said that. And then he didn't leave but started looking for it with Zhang Jinshuang. During the search process, Qin Feng was thinking about whether there was anything he needed to prepare specifically. After all, after summoning Ashashis, the level 25 trial given would surely be quite difficult. Once he failed, he wouldn't be able to summon Ashashis to stay here permanently in the future. So, he had to succeed in this trial. While thinking, Zhang Jinshuan chatted with him casually. Suddenly, some news he got from her surprised Qin Feng a lot. It turned out that in these days, through the wanted notices issued by the Skyvault Guild and several large-scale encirclement and suppression activities, the members of the Shanghai Black Dragon Hall had become like rats crossing the street, and many members of the Black Dragon Hall died for real because they didn't have enough lifespan left after being killed. Under such circumstances, the Feni Guild in Guangzhou finally couldn't sit still. In Shanghai, there were only tens of thousands of foreigners in total, and only a few thousand of them had reached level 10 and came to the ruins of Shanghai. The scale was very small. But in Guangzhou, there were a total of more than 300,000 foreigners, and the number of players above level 10 who had arrived at the ruins of Guangzhou had reached 30 to 50,000. Among them, there was a unique hidden class player named Ketil, who was respected as War God Q by the foreigners in Guangzhou and formed a large guild called Foreign War God Guild AMA. Becoming the leader of the foreigners in Guangzhou, after Ketil rose to power, he directly sent a message to the Skyvault Guild, ordering them to stop persecuting the foreign players in Shanghai. Otherwise, Ketil would also lead the elite players of the Black War God Hall to make trouble in Guangzhou. Originally, old Zhang just sneered at it. You're from Guangzhou. How can you interfere with what's going on in Shanghai? However, the Great Xia authorities were caught in the middle and were in a very difficult situation. After all, at this stage, the most important task of the Great Xia authorities was to maintain stability. So they found old Zhang and had a private talk with him, asking him to temporarily slow down the encirclement and suppression of the Shanghai Black Dragon Hall. Old Zhang had no choice but to nod and agree and temporarily stop taking action. Speaking of this, Zhang Jinshuan was obviously a bit angry. What she was angry about wasn't the arrogance of the black-skinned foreigners, but that in the country, there were always human rights defenders popping up everywhere, accusing the Skyvault Guild of being inhumane. As for on foreign forums, the Skyvault Guild had become a target of public criticism and was being severely criticized for being extremely inhumane. Ketil, Qin Feng narrowed his eyes. This unique hidden class player was indeed very powerful in combat, but he wasn't invincible. In his previous life, the Great Xia authorities kept retreating step by step in order to maintain stability. But that only made Ketil more and more arrogant and pushy in the end. He was still wiped out by the authorities. However, at that time, the Foreign War God Guild AMA where Ketil was in had already developed, resulting in heavy losses for all aspects of the Great Xia when they finally launched the encirclement and suppression. In this life, the Shanghai Black Dragon Hall had already been suppressed and couldn't develop anymore. But this Foreign War God Guild still had the potential to develop. Great. It seems that I can take care of the mask business in advance. Qin Feng was quite pleasantly surprised. In the Forsaken God game, as long as a player killed one, those were innocent players. They could go to the abyss of unjust death and find the NPC of the masked organization to obtain a mask for a player who liked killing. The mask was an extremely important thing. It could effectively reduce the killing value obtained by players when they killed others, and some high-level masks could even provide more special effects to help people kill better. However, even for Qin Feng, the total number of innocent players he had killed so far was less than 300. Due to the restrictions of the killer layer, Qin Feng was still quite cautious when killing people in the game. Even with the Knights Temple Guild constantly providing killers for Qin Feng to eliminate the killing value, it was by no means easy to accumulate and kill a full one dozen innocent players. After all, for every innocent player killed, 2 killers had to be killed to offset the increased killing value. What's more, Qin Feng couldn't just randomly kill people on the road either. He didn't care about what others thought of him. But after all, he still needed to cooperate with the authorities. The boss locations provided by the authorities could help him obtain evolution points at the fastest speed. But now, good news came. There were many foreign players in Guangzhou, and they were all gathered together. Among them, there were killers and innocent people. If Qin Feng took action, it would be like a wolf entering a flock of sheep. He could treat them as monsters and kill them. As long as he controlled the killing value well, he could easily kill a full 1,000 people. Ketil, you're the first grandson of Tyrone. Without a doubt. Qin Feng played with the Blade of the Star Killer in his hand and showed a meaningful smile.